This is breaking news.
Right now, Governor Hochul is joining MTA leaders at the Corona Maintenance Facility to make an announcement about subway safety. Let's go to it now.
To know that when they get on a train, they're going to have a world-class experience. We just talked about the 7 train, how you've dramatically increased the on-time numbers and just giving people a sense that things are back to normal. So thank you and your team at MTA for what you do. We're also joined by Pat Warren, the Chief Safety and Security Officer at the MTA, someone we're in regular contact with to see how we can, as a state, support the safety and security of this, this lifeblood of our city. Demetrius Critchlow is our MTA senior, our VP for subways, and Shirley Martin, the Vice President of Car Equipment from TWU Local 100, and thank you to all the members of Local 100 for what you do. You know, it's starting to feel like the city's moving again, or if it's like back to normal, it really doesn't feel like it is moving because there's a lot of traffic. And I just experienced that coming out from speaking at the CGI and other activities that are going on in the city to remind us that we are back. It's a vibrant feeling, and people are getting back to school, they're getting back to work, and they're getting back to the subways. It's really makes you feel proud to see, and we have statistics and articles written recently about offices in New York City starting to be full of life again, full of people. A 38% increase in the number of people, according to a New York Times article, the biggest post-Labor Day increase of any major city. We're proud of that. Also on September 14th, the ridership, subway ridership, surpassed 3.7 million riders for the first time since the horrific days of March 2020, and that is an important milestone we've been striving for a while. Ridership is, depending on the time of day, up to 60–70% of the ridership it had been before the pandemic, but again, this also accounts for the fact that there's people with much more flexible hours. Not everybody is coming in Monday through Friday. They might have a hybrid situation, so that is absolutely going to affect our numbers. But people are getting back to normal. But as we listen to concerns, you know, people are still concerned about transit crime. Statement of fact, it's real. And that's why we're leaning into finding strategies and technologies to make sure that we address just what we're doing here today. Because my #1 goal always has been, always will be, keeping New Yorkers safe. And no one should ever have fear when they're simply going to school on the subways, on our trains, or going to their jobs. And last January, if you recall, when Mayor Adams was brand new on the job, the two of us went into the subways together with Jano, and we announced significant steps to improve subway safety, including having deployment of more NYPD officers in the subways to have that visible presence, not just to prevent crimes, but also to help solve them if they're committed. So it's helping enforce the rules. Also in June, I signed a bill into law to protect transit employees. I mean, these people truly are in a vulnerable situation, and we made it a felony to assault a station customer assistants, the maintenance workers, repair workers, and supervisors. Now we're starting to see some incremental signs of progress. That is good. There's no mission accomplished here today, but we're talking about the fact that we're looking at comparing our pre-pandemic levels of 2019, the last time we had a normal year, and transit crime is actually down 4.5% from our last normal year in 2019. So that is a positive development. And what we show is that as ridership increases, the number and instances of crimes decreases. And from January to May, we had about 193 crimes per month. Again, talking about higher numbers coming back. Now that number is declining. It's 173. So it's not going up, but it's not to where we want it to be. But if you adjust for that, given our ridership, it's about a 21% decrease just from June to September of this year. So again, a good metric, a good trajectory to show that we're down, subway crimes are down 21% just since the summer started. And that's an important correlation, as I mentioned again, more riders means fewer crimes. So as we talk about how we can make people feel safer, and again, our law enforcement are the best in the world, we're trying to make sure that we have more monitoring in place. Monitoring that'll allow people to be aware. I talked about having some signs in there. Our digital signs are great. I said, smile, you're on camera. We're working together to make sure that you are safe when you ride our subways. And so that's what we're doing. So last September, we announced that the MTA had over 472 subway stations. We had functioning security cameras. It was an important tool, but those are the stations. People are actually in the cars. and we talked about in June how we want to have a pilot program to start placing security cameras actually in the trains for the very first time, installing them about 100 cars back then. So while our pilot program is still underway, it's working very well. We wanted to announce that we are now prepared to be having the installation of cameras in all subway vehicles, all subway cars, and that's awarded through grants from the federal government. The Homeland Security Department, Homeland Security committees have a program that has money for security for urban areas. So a combination of $6 million from that fund and also our MTA action plan, we have over $6 million ready to do this. So what we're going to be announcing is that we're having two security cameras that'll cover the width of the train, installed in each one of the 6,455 subway trains. Now, I'm optimistic, and I believe that these will also be a deterrent to people. You're going to be caught if you conduct any activity, where it's an aggressive act or whether it's a violent crime. And so I think that's going to go a long way to helping easing people's insecurities that they may have, to know that everyone knows now that there'll be cameras on the trains. So parents will be feeling more secure about putting their kids on the trains to go to schools. Senior citizens will be less apprehensive about taking the train to their doctor appointments. And New Yorkers can just have a calm way to get on their way off to their jobs. And it's not just about, as I mentioned, the peace of mind. It's also about solving the crimes, because they're going to get the actual visual experience. You're going to have a camera footage that's going to show any crime or activity that's committed on a subway train, and that'll allow law enforcement to search for and identify the people responsible. So if you think Big Brother's watching you on the subways, you're absolutely right. That is our intent, to get the message out that we are going to be having surveillance of activities on the subway trains, and that is going to give people great peace of mind. And if you're concerned about this, the best answer is don't commit any crimes on the subways. Then you won't have any problems. So this is all part of our overall recovery as we're going forth. I know that the last 2 years have been extremely difficult. We're cognizant of that. And we're doing everything we can, again, to use the tools, the resources, and the technologies that'll change people's experience and start changing their anxiety about safety on our subways. So with that, I'd like to bring up Jana Lieber to talk further about what we're announcing here today. Thank you, Jana.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you for being here today and for the commitment that you have shown to the MTA, to mass transit, and to subway safety. From the safety issue to fare freezes, you have always had the MTA's back and the riders' back. So I just got to say thank you. Today's announcement is another example of how we're not just listening to customer concerns, but actually acting on them. For a while now, riders have been telling us that where they feel vulnerable is on the platforms and on the trains. Today, there are thousands more cops on the platforms and on the trains than there were a year ago. So that was the subway safety plan that you and the mayor set in motion. Seeing cops in these key locations, along with a perceptible sense that there is less disorder in the system, has begun to move the dial on rider perceptions of safety. And we rolled out some of our rider surveys yesterday. The big one was a few months old. The more recent ones are actually showing movement, positive movement, even over the summer. Now we're taking the next step, putting cameras on all the trains. This is a pilot program that has gone from an idea to a full-on all subway fleet program in a few short months. It's a logical extension of our existing camera program, which has brought 10,000 cameras to our turnstiles and our platforms, and even to the train yards like the one you're in today, making sure that these major facilities are safe. The message, as the governor said, is loud and clear. If you prey on New Yorkers, or you commit vandalism or damage MTA facilities, we're going to have pictures of you. And the NYPD is going to find you, going to catch you, and going to punish you. There are signs that the increased police presence that the subway safety plan has set in motion is starting to pay off. As the chief of department, the second-ranking NYPD official, Governor, appeared at our board committee meetings yesterday, the highest uniformed official, Ken Corey. And what he talked about was that actually over the summer, crime in the subway system is down almost 9% compared to over the same period in 2019. So it's a drop of 340 crimes. The daily average of crimes per day is down compared to pre-pandemic, and overall transit crime, as you said, is down relative to pre-pandemic. In fact, at 1.8% of total New York City crime, it's actually an all-time low. The subway, we have always said, is among the safest places in New York, and the stats actually are bearing that out. Other indications of positive direction. Significant decline in the metrics that we use to count how many homeless folks are sheltering in the system. We do it every month on a line-by-line basis. We also do it at those end-of-line operations. Significant decline in those monthly surveys. The dramatic decline in quality of life problems at Penn Station, an area that you have made, Governor, you've made a priority. Penn Station, dramatic decline in all of the quality of life issues. And a decline in track intrusions, those horrible incidents where people get on the tracks for whatever reason and potentially do tremendous harm to themselves, and also huge delays in the system, way, way, way down in track intrusions. And the scams where people damage MetroCard vending machines so they can run a scam with swipes, also down. All of these indicia of disorder in the system have gone down. Now, way too early to declare victory. We're never, ever going to say that this is, as you said, mission accomplished. But the focused effort that you and the mayor set in motion, state, city, NYPD, MTA PD, it is starting to pay off. And we're not the only ones who are noticing. The New York City Partnership, which has been charting and has raised the issue of subway safety as a factor in the back-to-work patterns for office workers, the New York City Partnership is telling me that they are hearing from companies and from their workforce that there is a perceptible improvement in conditions on the subway. So I want to thank you, Governor Hochul, for all of your leadership on all things having to do with transit safety. As you said, it goes well beyond cameras and stopping crime. It's also about what you did for transit workers when you pushed through that legislation to make sure that all transit workers were protected under the law of the state of New York. And I just need to shout out, because the transit workers are here, and they're the ones who are going to work extra time, long hours, to do 300 to 400 subway car installations of these cameras per month. And they're going to be knocking them out at an incredible rate. So just a big shout out to everybody at Corona Yard. And especially to our friends in the TWU who are represented here as well. So following the example of everything that you have been doing and that we have been trying to execute, we're going to create a safer system for New Yorkers. Now, I am told that it's time for me to cue a video of the inside of a subway car so folks in the press can see a little bit what it looks like. I'm doing the talking, but that's Demetrius Critchlow, who runs the subway system, standing by to make sure I don't get it all wrong. Sorry? No. No. Marcia, we don't want our riders to feel like they're being eavesdropped on. Okay, so you see it, pretty high quality video. So with that.
All right, again, very happy to be here at the Corona Train Yard to make this significant announcement. You saw the clarity of the pictures. That is going to, if you get that out, that is a huge deterrent, because anyone who commits a crime or an offense, an infraction on our subways, once these are all installed, you will be caught. And again, my gratitude to the hardworking members of the union and the workers here who come in every single day, and we're looking forward to really expedite the installation over 6,400 cars. So you don't know which one have the cameras right now. Ultimately, they all will, but I would all behave as if you're being watched, because you are. Any questions?
So my question is this. You said that you're going to put 2 cameras per subway train. Since most subway trains have 8 to 10 cars, that means that probably only 2 out of 8 to 10 cars will have...
It's per car. It's 2 per car, if I misspoke. It's 2
explain
per
to
car.
us 2 per car
Yes,
on every train?
Yes, of course. There's about 5.
So every car, tell us how many cars will have, when you take the subway, how many cars will have cameras, and will it be in every car?
Ultimately, 6,455 cars will have 2 cameras with clarity, so we will be able to see all activity within that car. Yes, that is, it's bold, and we're already underway with over 200 cars. It takes, on average, 40 hours to do an entire train, correct? 40 hours to do a train, and we're going to be counting on everybody to work really hard, and I appreciate the effort, but it's an important objective. So yes, there'll be full coverage.
And it's $6 million to do this?
Yes, half of the money comes from our MTA fund, but also half of it comes from a federal Homeland Security fund. In fact, when I was in Congress, I served on the Homeland Security Committee and used to allocate money for subways and security. So we're really happy that this is a smart use of this federal and MTA money to invest in safety, invest in giving people that sense of security that has been gone for too long.
Can I just add one thing?
Sure.
But just what the governor isn't mentioning is that it was her initiative to use that federal money in this way. That's federal money that comes to the state, and it was her initiative. I just want to be clear.
I have one for Jano and one for the governor. For Jano, you already had thousands of cameras in the stations, and as we saw after the Sunset Park shooting, for whatever operational reason, the one in that station was not working. You had told us at the time it was being maintained, they hadn't finished it. How big of a maintenance challenge will it be to keep these new cameras working? Will the cameras work in between stations, you know, the way your phone goes out, or walk us through how you can assure that they'll actually be operational?
Listen, any new piece of technology has maintenance challenges, but you know, our subway cars have a very high, what you call MDBF, the high rate of performance. They don't break down anything like they used to in the old days. Better cars, better technology, more modern technology, great workforce, maintaining them. And we're doing more and more predictive maintenance. That means you don't wait for stuff to break. Rich Davey has made a huge priority of this. You don't wait for it to break, but you develop the technology and the data so that you know when you have to fix something and when it starts to malfunction, because it's like the equivalent of a check engine light. So we're doing that all over the bus and subway system. So I have a high level of confidence. You know, on the day of the Sunset Park shooting, we got dozens of images of that assailant. So one of the great things about this is we're going to have images in every subway car and in every station. You can be sure we're going to catch the bad guys.
My question for the governor on the migrant crisis, what state assistance is your administration planning to give New York City to help shelter asylum seekers that you haven't given already? We're reaching a point where the mayor has talked about the sheer numbers have led to cost issues that it's unclear the city can handle.
We've been in constant communication with the mayor's team since the very first day. First of all, allocating space at the Port Authority and allowing countless individuals who want to be supportive, the social welfare groups and state entities, as well as our Office of New Americans is right there. Catherine Garcia, our head of state operations, is working closely with the mayor's team to help identify sites throughout the city for them to be housed. So we are doing all of this right now, and I have a call, another call with the White House tomorrow. I've already spoken to Secretary Mayorkas multiple times about our shared interest in getting federal assistance for this crisis to help all of us, but also to address the work issue and how soon people can be able to have the legal ability to work at the time while they're waiting disposition of their cases. So I would say, and I speak to the mayor about this often, as we have another call today, tomorrow. We talk all the time about this, and so we're there to help.
Hey, Governor, I wanted to ask you, do you agree with, back here, do you agree with Mr. Lieber that the MTA should be funded like an essential service and rely less on fares, since it will take probably until the 2030s till we're near pre-pandemic levels, according to McKinsey?
No, there's different funding sources for the MTA. They're all important. There's not one sole source. It's not just the state budget. It's not just the fares, and we're looking at other options as well. So I believe in an all-the-above approach to make sure that we have sustainability, but not just keeping the trains running, but be able to make the kind of investments we're talking about here today, and making sure that we have the technology, the signal changes, the system changes, so a train that had about a 60% on-time arrival, the 7 train, is now about 90%. So it's not just about saying we're going to fund it. It's about funding it in smart ways, so this continues to be and strives to be, in areas where we fail, the very best system in the world. Is there anything you want to add to this? Okay.
Hi. When I walked in, I heard you guys talking about crime numbers. I just looked up the recent January through August. We're up this year compared to last year. And if you look to pre-pandemic 2019, we're only down by not even 40 instances of crime, and this year there's already 5 murders on the subway. What are we seeing of this reduction in crime when crime is up compared to last year and is pretty much on the same level as 2019? Listen, and there's a lot more murders.
Yeah, the simple facts. We're obviously we're no way suggesting we're out of the woods, Dan. The key, but in fairness to the public, we got to keep them posted, because this is a matter of real concern. Crime is down over the summer. Crime is down since January, when this subway safety plan began. And the probability of being a victim of crime is, of a felony, is 1 in roughly 500,000 rides. So I am not in any way suggesting. I grew up in New York in a much more dangerous time. It was a time when, my parents taught me to, carry my mugging money, $1 in my pocket, and the rest of the money in my shoes. So I know what it is to live in a dangerous city. New York is still the safest city in the world. We lost a little ground during the pandemic, which is real, and now we're gaining ground back. It's time for the public to understand that there are signs of progress, green shoots, especially since the beginning of this subway safety plan, especially since the NYPD started appearing in big numbers in the system.
Good morning. First, just a quick logistical question. Will these feeds be constantly monitored, or will these only be picked up following the report of some kind of problem?
Like many of our cameras, these are going to be, we capture the video, but we're at, we're 5 or 6 or 7 crimes per day, major felony crimes. So we get on this stuff immediately, and what we're seeing again and again and again is that as soon as we have a report of a crime, either there are cops on the platform and they're doing a collar right there, cops on a mezzanine, cops on a train see somebody actually being pickpocketed. Every day I'm getting reports like that. But when there isn't a cop in striking distance, what we're seeing is they grab the video and very quickly they're making arrests. So we think this is a dramatic improvement in our ability to both deter crime and also to catch people who do crime. And the message, as the governor says, is going to go out. You're on candid camera. We are filming what you're doing.
And just to follow up real quick, Governor, I'm sure your big brother comment might have perked up the ears of some civil liberties groups, as I'm sure you can imagine. The last time the MTA piloted surveillance cameras on subways, there were ties to a Chinese facial recognition company. Everything was kind of swept under the rug. Can you assure riders that there won't be any kind of that facial recognition or any kind of underlying technology here that might be concerning?
This is all about safety, the safety of our riders, and letting would-be criminals know that should you harm any other passenger in any way, you'll be observed, you'll be caught, and you'll be prosecuted. Security cameras have been a way of life. You walk into any grocery store, you're being watched. You walk into a drugstore, you're being watched. You walk into an airport, you're being watched. So this is just a way that we can use resources from the state, because I said we have to do something dramatic here, and to simply insert that kind of technology, that surveillance, into a mode of transportation which is critical for the reemergence in a full, robust way of our economy and this whole region. So I feel confident. Is there anything to add on that? Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. I'm kind of in different territory here. No, it was an extraordinary game. It was an extraordinary game, and to my friends who are Jets and Giants lovers as well, we love all of our teams, but it was, I think there's a lot of pride in having the Buffalo Bills show the Titans how to play football. Thank you.